Let's hope Harry wore socks this time. Okay. Well, that was a mess. Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another fashion edition. We are going to round up all the outfits from the Colombia trip into one video and has some bonus content for you as well. I'm going to try to go in order. Forgive me if there's any mistakes. They're probably not actually going to be in order, in all honesty. We're also going to be addressing a few of your frequently asked questions about these outfits throughout the video. So on their arrival day, one of the most puzzling elements was that Harry's buttons did not match. Look at the top 2 or 3 are light and the bottom are dark. That is not wise. It's going to draw the eye to the belly area. It's very curious. I wonder what happened. Let's start off with this Johanna Ortiz cami and maxi skirt dress. This is a black and white sort of patterned ensemble here. It's very spaghetti strap, very straight across, squared off right about here. It does accentuate the angularity of her chest and shoulder area, but it does have some things going for it. So let's get into it. It's a Colombian designer, as we know. That's good. That's nice. But if it had been a different color, it definitely would have been brighter. A pop would have been nice for this trip, but just in general. So this has a bunch of sort of ruffles and some sort of a tie, it looks like, coming from the bust area, which for Meghan actually is good. Somebody busty, or if you're just curvier in general, having extra volume right across the bust area is just going to exaggerate the situation and not necessarily be flattering, so to speak. For Meghan and her body type, though, this is something that's actually just fine. I think overall it does look just a little bit messy with the various jaunty stripes and the ruffles. It's definitely a beach dress. This is a casual setting sort of dress. I don't think it's necessarily perfectly suited to the occasion as per usual, but I also think that for the events that they did in this particular outfit, going to like a drum lesson at a music class or something like that, I think that it was okay. You could argue it one way or the other. I think spaghetti straps are best to avoid when you're doing things like this, as we've discussed. They're much more casual, private life sort of realm rather than a public facing situation that's going to be publicized. But ultimately, it could have been worse. It's definitely not the worst thing that we've seen her in. But despite that, it manages to not necessarily accentuate the boxy torso. The ruffles add a little bit of volume to her chest, which then in turn reduce the visual weight of the shoulders. It creates a little bit more visual balance. Purse is very much not the vibe for this set. It doesn't fit in. It's a little bit off in color. I just don't love the choice of purse for this. And also the skirt is too long here. It should have been hemmed up. So I don't love it, but it's certainly not the worst look. I think the hair and makeup were a perfectly fine choice for this day and for this outfit. I don't particularly like the hat that she is threatening us with here in this picture. As for Harry, his shirt is a nice pretty blue. I think that was a great choice. The trousers and shoes clash. One is very just true beige, pretty neutral or even slightly cool toned, and the shoes are very, very yellow in tone, and no socks. Yes, he should be wearing socks. This was not good. I agree with the internet on that one. And in terms of Harry's sweat stains and wrinkling in his outfit here, I think this is something where we do need to give some exceptions because it is quite humid in this location, so it makes sense that his shirt would wrinkle some, and weather happens. Heat happens. I believe later in the day is when they were out in this outfit, and I understand that this day was quite hot. So once again, we're going to give a pass for the wrinkles. Wearing linen in the heat is at least going to be comfortable and makes sense. So we've got to give a pass there. Just look at how sweaty Harry is. So I think it's okay to set that aside. There is no excuse for the mismatched whites, Meg. The top itself is quite cream colored. The skirt is like a true white. The hat is a different shade of off-white. And then there's a black band on the hat and black shoes. That at least kind of goes. But overall, this just doesn't match well enough. This is not how you do a tonal outfit. It could have been improved. As far as the rise of the skirt, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst. It could have been just ever so slightly lower to elongate her torso a little bit, give a little bit better balance. But ultimately, because it is more monochrome, I think it works okay in terms of balancing out her body type and not making her look particularly off balance. Shoes, however, are the worst for her. She has quite long feet, so having the line across the top of the foot is going to elongate her feet even more, and the ankle strap is just going to chop things up beneath the hemline of that skirt. So I think that she should have gone for a different pair of shoes just in general, maybe some flats or like some simple tennis shoes or trainers like these that are just really simple and low profile, they would have been perfect for this occasion, made sense, and looked much better. When it comes to wearing a hat and sunglasses, that's not the best choice. Typically, you want to do one or the other in this sort of a scenario. The purpose of a hat is so that then you don't need sunglasses. Would have made more sense if she just went one or the other. And these pictures, these outfits are from the start of their second day. Harry's outfit here is just absolutely awful. The elements on their own, each by themselves, would have been okay paired together with something else. But this combined clashes horribly, and then paired up next to Meghan clashes even more. His ice blue shirt maybe could have passed as acceptable with the olive trousers, but it definitely would have needed different shoes and a different belt. Cream trousers or beige or even navy would have been ideal with this shirt. The olive trousers could have benefited from a different color belt no matter what top they were paired with, but they would have been perfectly acceptable with just a regular white or cream shirt instead of this ice blue one. The shoes in their yellowy shade really took the cake for clashing and screwing up the whole outfit. They look horrendous together. The whole thing all together just looks bad. Meghan's jacket is really, really warm toned as well, so altogether it just looks like various shades of gross. As for Meghan's look on this day, I think that her hair and makeup look just fine. She doesn't have particularly dark eye makeup on this day. She has a slight side part. All of those things are good. And yes, her face does look a little bit darker than her neck and chest, as many of you have pointed out across all her outfits on this trip. And there is no denying that she's probably wearing too dark of a foundation shade. Most people are. And as we know, she tends to put on far too much bronzer and really bronze up her cheeks a lot right around here, which to an extent she could be trying to minimize this area of the face because she does have a more diamond shaped face where it's wider right about here. So maybe that's part of why she cakes it on right here. Regardless, do remember that in the summertime or when you're getting more sun, your face is going to get more sun than other areas. Your neck especially is a little bit shaded from your face, and depending on your neckline, your chest may or may not get as much sun as your face. Even if you're very diligent about sunscreen, your face is out the majority of the time unless you're always wearing a hat, so it is going to tan at a slightly different pace than other areas of the body. But moving on, as for her outfit, it missed the mark. This is not good. Let's start with the jacket. The shoulder seams are just a tad bit too wide. So it may be just a size too big, and she certainly didn't get it tailored. The length is good in terms of blending her short torso by elongating her torso. So it doesn't accentuate that proportion imbalance in terms of torso to leg. So that part about the jacket is a good thing. I don't mind the color or the finish of the shirt underneath. Looks profoundly wrinkled. She definitely should have at least ironed it, but better yet, just gone with something different altogether. The fact that it's got black buttons and all the wrinkles and the particular neckline that it has, none of that really flows together with this particular jacket that she has on. I think a simpler undershirt would have been much, much smarter. As for these jeans, they are the complete and utter wrong option with one exception, and that is the rise. As you can see, these are a lower rise jean, which is exactly what she needs, once again, to not draw attention to her shorter torso. The rise of the jeans is good. Everything else is a horrible option for this outfit and in general. The cropped length is one of the biggest problems here. You don't want to pair a longer jacket with cropped bottoms. You just don't. Do a longer jacket with full-length regular hemlines. If you're doing a regular or cropped jacket, you can get away with a cropped bottom or a midi skirt. It's one or the other. You don't do long jacket and cropped bottom. Just don't ever do that. So while it elongated the torso, it ended up shortening the leg, which defeats the purpose and makes things look weird. It made her legs look too short, so it just took things in the wrong direction. Also, they are a skinny fit, which is going to accentuate the thinness of her limbs, and they are black, which is going to thin them out even more dramatically. So this ended up doing a box on short toothpicks sort of a look. Not box on stilts, box on tiny short little toothpicks. It was just a bad choice all around. She should have gone for straight leg trousers of some kind. Just straight leg, something simple, something with a bit of room in it, and full length hem on those trousers, like at least down to the ankle bone. I also don't love the color combination we're getting here with the black trousers, the white shirt, and the brown blazer. Like, none of it really matches. And then on top of it, her flats have a very light peachy nude to them. Yet another shade that doesn't really fit in. So this whole entire thing was kind of screwy. I think if she really wanted to go with the top that she had on and the cropped jeans, she should have gone with just plain white tennis shoes, sneakers, trainers, something like that, just really low profile and simple in all white. Classic, clean, simple, and chic, and skipped the jacket. Not done that jacket at all because it just doesn't go with a black and white look. So this whole outfit was unfortunately not a great choice. Now the jacket itself I think is fine. She could have paired it up with different things and made it work. Just this all put together did not work well. Their first day there also featured one of Meghan's all-time worst outfits, this infamous brown pajama pant outfit. Most people think that it had a bunch of sweat stains on it. Definitely could have been, but it also could have been water condensation. Either way, a different fabric could have saved her from that embarrassment. That's what happens when you are rude and negative and difficult. Embarrassment usually follows. If it were anyone else, I think we would have felt bad for her. As far as this being a Victoria Beckham shirt, there was lots of buzz surrounding that. As we all know, they had a big falling out with the Sussexes after the Meg had wanted lots of free things and Victoria said no. Following that, the Meg cut the Beckhams out of her and Harry's life, banning Harold from even seeing David at an event. She told him he wasn't allowed to be pictured with David. So weird. Big red flag there. Harry knew David before meeting the Meg, so it's super strange. But also, the Meg accused Victoria of leaking stories about her, which is so bizarre. Nobody understands what the Meg is talking about. But she convinced Harry of this, and he confronted David, who was like, what? No. And that was the end of that. Since then, the Beckhams have aligned themselves, or I guess continued to align themselves with the royal family, because they've always been sort of friends/acquaintances to the royals. David's apparently good buddies with King Charles. They both beekeep and whatnot. So to some people, it raised eyebrows why the Meg would wear a Victoria Beckham shirt. I think because she perused her closet and it was the closest thing in color she could get to those trousers she was fixated on wearing. I do not think she gave it a second thought at all. Plus, she thinks she's right in this situation with the Beckhams. She's not. The Beckhams did not deserve the Sussex crazy. And so the Meg, up there on her high horse, probably thinks anybody's lucky to have her wear their clothes. Day 2 had 3 more outfits. Excessive, I know. But one of them was all right. It seems on this trip she managed to get like 2 or 3 acceptable or almost good outfits. She attended a private lunch where she wore this blue dress. Maybe it was day 3. This is a really similar silhouette to the yellow dress that she wore in Nigeria and previously, just kind of almost baby doll style where it just all drapes down from the top. I don't particularly love them, but I think they work fine for Meghan Markle because remember, her widest point is her shoulders. So something that creates kind of the opposite shape is going to be a little bit more flattering to her, that it doesn't throw her off balance in any way, shape, or form, the way something that's maybe getting narrower and narrower as it goes down would just exaggerate the inverted triangle or V shape. I haven't been able to find very good pictures from this day, so maybe we'll do an updated fashion edition as more pictures become available. All we can really talk about is the general shape and color. I like this color. It's a very beautiful blue. It's really unfortunate she doesn't wear bright colors more often. It's not my favorite silhouette personally, but it is relatively modest. Like, it's not clingy or figure hugging. It doesn't have a high slit in sight. There's no backless cutouts, anything like that. It's not a spaghetti strap. It's cut fabric here. It's got a high neckline. I mean, this shouldn't need to be pointed out. The woman has worn spaghetti straps and strapless dresses in places where they are wholly inappropriate to wear. So this was a good option in terms of that. And I believe it was following that luncheon, she changed her outfit again for the 3rd time that day to go with Harry to meet Colombia's Invictus team. And I think this is one of her better options from the trip. It's still not perfect, but it's better. This is good. It's got some stuff going for it. Let's get into it. It is a bad choice of shoe. Once again, some flats, even simple white tennis shoes, like low profile tennis shoes, or even loafers would have been better than these strappy brown sandals. They just don't work for this. It's unfortunate. It's not the worst crime, but it did drag it down a bit to have those sandals at the bottom. The side part, the hair, the makeup all look just fine here. Even the jewelry seems appropriate. All of that's good. The skirt is the star of this outfit. It was an excellent choice. It's got a wrap style that's flattering and enhances the flowy fabric, which is very complimentary to her frame because it contrasts her boxier body type. We've talked about many times having diagonal lines, curved lines, softer fabrics, anything with a flow, elements of softness, balance out and contrast her boxier, more angular frame. It's a wonderful approach. And while the shirt appears to be less wrinkly and a softer fabric than some that she has worn, it doesn't necessarily match the off-white of the skirt close enough, and she created bulk with her usual rolling up of the sleeves. So I'm disappointed in the choice of shirt here. Instead of this, if she had worn something that was like a black elbow-length sleeve top that was just nice and simple, it would have added a great deal of balance. Wearing a darker color where she's widest and having the lighter color, the white with the pattern across the hip and whatnot would have brought even more balance to her figure. It would have been wonderful. And it just would have been a better silhouette overall. But regardless, the skirt here is a perfect illustration of the benefit of curves and softer lines and fabrics with movement and flow to add balance to her figure. So that is wonderful. I also think this might have been a Colombian designer, this skirt, but correct me if I'm wrong, that might not, I don't know. I think I read that. I think I remember reading that. So I think this is one of her better options from the trip overall. It's still not perfect, but it's an improvement. On their third day, there were at least 2 outfits that we saw. Maybe there were more that haven't been published so far, but these ones were much less successful. Their final day was in Kelley, and she had 2 outfits that were almost nice, but she ruined them in her usual ways. The strapless bra, this time a dark one under a white shirt. Crimes against the fashions. Then she showed up at this panel or conference here, and this one was a bit of a roller coaster for me because the first few pictures that I saw, I thought, well, this is great. Also, this is really good because the skirt is fun, it's patterned, it's got some color, it draws the eye because that pattern is louder in comparison to the plain white top. So it really draws your eye to the skirt, which is good. Her widest point is her shoulders. Drawing the eye to the legs is going to bring balance. While, for example, if you're the opposite, if your widest point is your hips, drawing the eye to the upper body or to the shoulder line is going to balance your figure. It doesn't necessarily have to be volume. It can be things like pattern or bright colors or textures. So it was a great example. This would have been even better if her top was darker, like picked up on one of the blues from the skirt. That would have been really, really nice. But the white is okay too. It does look like the top is a little bit small, perhaps. The slim fit of it is good to not add any sort of bulk or whatnot, but it looks a little too small. I do dislike the gratuitous popped collar here. It just erases her neck. It looks a little silly, a little bit old-fashioned, especially with the hair hanging down here. It's just not wise. It really shrunk down her neck, made her just look like it was sitting right on top of the shoulders. Then I saw that she is wearing a dark strapless bra under this top. What the actual heck is going on here? Why would you do that? Why? Now, this did solve a piece to the puzzle of the mystery of why her chest seems to be sitting so low in a lot of these pictures. It is because she is wearing a padded strapless bra. Strapless bras slip as it is, but if they are also padded, they slip even more because they're just not able to conform to your boob shape and just kind of like stay nice and snug and still. Instead, they have this weight to them that's not really marrying well with your boob shape, and then it's just getting dragged down lower and lower on your torso. So mystery solved there, but why is she wearing a dark bra under this top? Can she not help herself? What is happening? This outfit had potential and she ruined it. I do like the pink shoes. It's a shame she had to ruin the outfit with a stupid bra. Pencil skirts in general are a great option for her, especially or specifically when they are in a color or a pattern because they will draw the eye and they don't carry the same risk because Meghan Markle specifically has very thin limbs. So her limbs can look kind of lanky and twiggy. So when she wears a skirt that's a little fuller and has a little bit more volume to it, especially down at the bottom of the hemline, then it can accentuate the twigginess of her legs even further. But that is not the case with pencil skirts. So they really should be one of her go-to silhouettes, doing a pencil skirt with a slim fit top. When she was with the royal family, some of her most successful outfits were very, very streamlined, simple shift dresses and pencil skirts with slim tops. It helps to blend the short torso. It doesn't necessarily completely camouflage it, but it blends it because pencil skirts naturally are placed pretty high rise. So she can get away with it. It's streamlined, it's tidy, it's a nice silhouette, and it works really well for her when done right. But she did it wrong and she ruined it. What looks to be their last appearance was a music festival where she wore this green and white dress with a drop skirt feature, which does help to elongate the torso, and it looked quite nice despite being spaghetti strap. It being an evening event and a festival though, I think that this was one situation where the strapless feature didn't look as out of place at other times. I really like the pattern, the colors are great. The bust still looks awkward here. It must be that padded strapless bra syndrome. They fall down a lot no matter what you do. It just is what it is. It's going to make your bust line look odd. It just is. It's an unnatural structure and form that just is not simpatico. So that's unfortunate. But otherwise, I would say the pattern and colors to this particular dress is one of my favorites. I think it's great. And overall, the movement and the curved lines and whatnot in this pattern also further lend itself to helping out her silhouette overall. So I think that was good. In general, looking at her appearances throughout this trip, I think that there were some improvements in her outfits, particularly as compared to the Nigeria situation. At least for the panels, she wasn't wearing this dress to the panel discussions this time. You know, she made a lot more mistakes in that sort of a way in Nigeria. And the culture here is different. This is not a country that is 50% Muslim. So there is a different tone in terms of what is appropriate and what is not. Keep that in mind as well. But there were still mistakes. Most amateur, most ridiculous thing I've seen her do in a while is the black strapless bra under that white shirt, particularly under stage lighting, but anywhere. Did we all not learn this when we were like 12? Okay. Overall, there is evidence that she is getting a little bit better. There were no giant man pants, definitely not anything puddling up on the floor that I saw. Still really bad options, really bad silhouettes, throwing herself off balance. But then there were some that were good, that brought in those elements of softness to make her look more balanced and help her figure out and help her silhouette a little bit more. And so there is some improvements happening. It's amazing. It's a wonder. Well, I hope you enjoyed this recap of all of her tragic outfits and her almost great ones. Sometimes it's the little things that can ruin an otherwise high potential outfit, be it the styling or the silhouette or oftentimes the undergarments. If you have questions about bras and other undergarments, then be sure to go check out my tutorial here. I will link it for you as well as in the description box, and it is time for question of the day. Fairy Lemons says that they don't know their body type. They're petite and slender with long limbs, have hips, not top heavy. When they gain weight, it tends to go to the belly and backside. I would say it sounds like, based on that, you probably lean pear. Where you tend to see weight go when you do gain is a great indicator for a lot of people. It's not 100% foolproof, but it does help sometimes to think about that and be like, well, where is it evenly distributed, or do I tend to gain a lot more lower or a lot higher up, or just like in the belly area? But I personally find the simplest approach if you're trying to think about your shape or like the balance to your silhouette is just look straight on what is your widest point. If you are an inverted triangle or a V shape, then it'll be your shoulders up here, particularly your shoulder line will be the broadest point. In that case, the most basic starting point would be to add balance to that by drawing the eye to the hips and lower on the body. Like, for example, wearing brighter or lighter skirts and jeans is going to add a little visual weight, or skirts or things like that have a little bit of a flare to the hip. It's going to balance you out and make it look like you have more of a waistline, accentuate the waistline that you have. If you're the opposite, your widest point would be around your hips, anywhere below the hip bones. So it could be your upper thighs, around where your buttocks is, or it could straight up be your hips. If you are that pear or triangle shape where your widest point is down here, then you would do the opposite. Draw the eye more up here. Wear things with fun necklines that have embellishments up here, or wear brighter colors or patterns for your tops. And darker skirts or trousers or pants will just offer a little bit more balance. If your shoulders and your hips are relatively even and you don't have a particularly well-defined waist, then you're probably a little bit more of a rectangle. In which case, you don't have to worry as much about balancing out your shoulder line or your hips really at all. You just don't want to necessarily throw yourself way off balance. You can focus more on strategies to make your waistline appear more well-defined if you wish. And similarly, if you're hourglass, then your shoulders and your hips are going to be pretty balanced and similar in width and in measurement, but you will have a more well-defined waist, in which case you can use that to your advantage, because the more you accentuate your waist, it just tends to be quite flattering and accentuate the balance that you have. But you want to be careful not to throw yourself off balance, which is even easier to do if you're hourglass than if you're rectangle, because you have curves. If you add volume or things like that around your bust area or around your hips, then it can make you look a little frumpy and it's a little too much. So simpler, more streamlined silhouettes tend to be easier to wear for the hourglass. If you feel like your stomach area, your belly area is your widest point, or you just feel like you're very straight across, you have like no well-defined waist at all, or if you don't have a particularly well-defined waist and your torso is short, then apple styling can help a lot. Or if you do have a bit of a belly, apple styling approaches can help a lot. And it's all about not necessarily drawing attention to or adding bulk to the midsection, but creating more of a vertical line and a streamlined look. And there's lots of great tips out there. There's a lot of great websites. I'll try to link some in the description box if I can find them, that have a lot more detail on what sorts of styling tricks you can do to help out. But yeah, thinking from the widest point is usually a great starting point. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.